Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Mizzou football. I am David.
I'm Eric.
And let's get our discussion going as football season, in this case, fall camp has started up within the last week. So let's get going.
What do you think about Coach Drink's his philosophy when it comes to newcomers of not awarding or not giving a player a number until the position coach has determined that he's earned it?
You know, I think it's a great way to push the players. And in fact, I know he wasn't going to do this because you don't want to upset the apple cart, if you will, but I kind of wish he did it for the whole team, not just the newcomers. Because he is a newcomer, so when he comes in, he can address all that. But again, you don't want to upset the apple cart because that will cause people to transfer and all that later on if they don't like the new coach.
Well, and the SID probably is begging him never to do that because he doesn't want to have to answer the, all right, so this All-American wide receiver, he was number 9 last year. He was number 6 this why? And then 2 years ago he was 3. What's going on?
Well, and you know how players fall in love with their numbers too. So
right. But then you got one tool of a player who just wants the number, so he steals it from the starter.
Right.
So yeah.
But
as you go year by year, eventually every player in the program will have gone through that.
Right. I really love the idea of earning your number, though, because it makes you work for it. And it shows you when you come in as a freshman, I don't care how good you were in high school, you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of these freshmen coming in were the top player at their school, if you will.
Oh, every player who was in college,
they think they're God's gift.
One of the best.
Yeah.
They all think that every player who signs a Power 5 scholarship and goes to school thinks they are 3 years from the NFL. I mean, let's be real.
Well, even if you're a 5-star player, it teaches that player, yeah, you were a 5-star player coming in, but if you want to play
down at this level,
if you want to play, you got to earn your playing time. Show me what you got. Mm-hmm. So the other thing I liked, and for those of you watching, I highly recommend doing this. Mizzou Football has been putting out videos on all their social media of the practices, and they have interviews with players and coaches and stuff. But there's a lot of interesting stuff in those interviews and practices. So, like I said, I highly recommend watching some of that. The first day of practice, they haven't shown him doing it since, but Drinkwitz was getting in on the drills.
Yeah.
Which is, as a player, you love to see because, you know, he's just as excited to be back and working. And you want to play for a coach who's willing to go and work hard with you on the field. So it was really fun to watch and see that. And then, like I said, they've been interviewing different position coaches and players every day. So, like I said, watch those videos from Mizzou Football that they put out on social media because they're really fun to watch.
Yeah. Now, since the last time we talked, found out what Mizzou's schedule is going to look like. I did a video with analysis of that schedule. Here, you see it every now and again on different Facebook groups or whatever of Missouri fans saying, oh, man, yeah, sure, going to lose Bama, LSU, Florida, Georgia. Those are going to be tough games. There's 4, but you know what? I think we're going to beat everybody else.
Since we're talking about this schedules, can I throw out the Vegas odds that came out?
Yeah, go ahead.
For the SEC game, Vegas put out the over/under game odds for every team. So Alabama's at 9 wins. Georgia's
9.
Yeah.
Oh.
Georgia's at 8.5.
Oh, they're playing 10 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
LSU's at 8. Florida's at 7.5. Auburn's at 7. Texas A&M is at 6. Kentucky's at 4.5. Tennessee's at 4. Ole Miss is 3.5. South Carolina is 3.5. Missouri's at 3. Mississippi State's at 2.5. Arkansas is at 2. And then Vanderbilt's at 1.5. So when looking at our schedule and the over-unders that they're giving us, the 3 games they have Missouri winning obviously would be Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt because we play all 3 of them.
Right.
After that, South Carolina is just above us at 3.5, which I find interesting. And Tennessee at 4. I think all of those games I just said are all winnable games. I think you could see 5 wins just off those teams right there.
Yeah, I think Missouri fans are going to expect wins against Vandy and Arkansas. Those are probably your should wins. But after that, there's nothing that's not going to be a dogfight. And people need to accept that. Tennessee, Mississippi State, personally, I'm hoping for a split. South Carolina, I'm thinking between those 3 games, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Mississippi State, all 3 are on the road. You can't get too mad if Missouri wins 1. Lose all 3, it's disappointing. Win 2, I'm pretty pumped. But win 1 out of 3, you can't get too mad at that. You just can't.
There's a few other numbers I was reading this week that I want to throw out, and I wish I would have taken a screenshot of what I was reading. It was on what was it? SEC Showdown is a Facebook page I saw. They had the defensive numbers, and Mizzou was actually like 4th in the conference in defense last year, like points.
Oh yeah, no, defense wasn't bad. It was the offense. It was heinous.
So, and we have most of it.
It's interesting to see what happens with the defensive line. Will we have a defensive end who can get pressure on the quarterback for the first time in 5 years? Will the loss of Jordan Elliott, how's that going to affect Kobe Whiteside? He's either going to have to command the double teams himself and allow another tackle to step up, or there might be the D-line interior may not be as strong.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel like our D-line was very strong last year, period, anyway. So I don't know how much of that is going to impact the defense anyway. Where we were strong was with our linebackers.
Oh, yeah.
In our corners. And most of those guys are back. Also, with all the coaching changes, I will say our defensive coordinator is still around. Right. So I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off with our defense. If anything, we might see an improvement from a couple of interior linemen that step up. Who knows? Like you said, our biggest issue last year was pressuring the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The
problem is those are all the same guys. It's going to be all the same guys, and Jatorian Hansford is out for all the fall camp after surgery, I think, on his shoulder.
So, yeah, that's true. But do we have a different line coach, too, also, now that I'm thinking about it?
No, Brick Haley's still the D-line coach.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I can't remember what all has changed on the defense. That's what I was saying. I know the offense is completely, made over.
Right, because Drink's running it. Defense didn't really change much because Drink is an offensive-minded guy.
Well, and it was smart on his part because we have a solid defensive coaching staff, I think.
Right, yeah. We're going to find out just how good Ryan Walters is. You know, everyone kind of viewed him as a puppet for Odom because Odom was a defensive-minded guy, defensive coordinator and all that. We're going to find out what Walters is all about, I think.
I think Walters more than Odom. I think Odom was personally way over his head just in general running the team. I don't know how much control he had over the defense at all, period, anyway. based off adjustments and all that. And if he was in control of the defense, we might be better off without Odom because I felt like he didn't do a lot of adjustments that he should have.
No, he didn't adjust at all. Missouri would come out and be pretty decent at the start of a game or a half, and by the end of the half, end of the game, get destroyed. His in-game adjustment, Odom was awful.
That's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing with Drink is like every interview I've heard him talking, he's extremely smart in a football sense. And he appears to be someone who knows how to like really do some in-game coaching on the fly.
I did enjoy when they asked about the quarterback situation and who the starter is going to be. The quote was, pretty sure it was, "We ain't telling nobody." I got no problem with him being blunt. I mean, everybody knows that that's the point, so why not just admit, yeah, we want Alabama to have to work more and plan for both.
Well, and he might already know who's going to be his starter, but he probably won't tell. And with most of the media and everything else out of practices because of COVID and all that, he can really hide what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
Much more than you used to be able to because they used to have like those scrimmages and stuff where press would come in and they could gain a better understanding of where the team's coming from.
Right.
One of the things I was reading today was I forgot which coach they were talking to. I think it was a running backs coach. They're going to be using – our offense is going to be geared more as a pro offense this year with college flair, if you will.
I worry about the offensive line. There is –
I don't think the offensive
experience. There's not a lot of experience in terms of starts coming back. And the guys that are back, Larry Borum and Case Cook, have not exactly been dominant.
I don't think it's a bad thing because I think the issue last year was the way they had the blocking because they brought in a new O-line. Odom brought in a new O-line coach last year, and once they did that, the line went to garbage, and they were a solid line.
Nobody ever accused Brad Davis of being a good offensive line coach.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think
good recruiter, whatever, but he sucks.
I think with the whole new coaching staff on offense, I think Drink will get that under control real quick.
Hopefully.
But anyway, what I was saying is they plan on using a lot of tight ends and. Like they have some sets with 3 tight ends out there, which caught me by surprise. You don't see that very much.
Right.
The other thing I found interesting is they said the tight end position is not necessarily your traditional tight end. They have some formations with the tight end as a running back, and they have them out as receivers too, which I thought was really intriguing as well. So it looks like Drink is already putting in his own flair to the offensive system.
And I think you could see. That makes me think of Daniel Parker Jr. as a potential fullback in like a 3rd and 1 type situation.
Well, and they're heaping praise on Nico was mentioned a couple of times too in camp. He's a sophomore this year of showing some real progress as well. So I could see him being used game time too.
Yeah.
Larry Roundtree, though, it sounds like they're designing the offense around getting him the ball, which is a good thing. Because he's a really good running back. And they said the pro-style offense is more of a downhill running offense. But when they said the college flair, what they're talking about is using different formations to give them more running options. So it almost sounds like they might consider spreading the line out a little bit and doing some of that hurry-up type offense that just opens
and see, that was what Josh Heupel did when Odom and Heupel took over in 2016-17, is they ran that hurry-up offense to kind of mask the fact that the offensive line sucked. The tempo slowed down when Heupel left, and there was more confidence in the offensive line's ability. And in 2018, it was pretty good.
Well, and you can have a really good offensive line and still spread out, and it might even be more dominating.
Well, I guess my point is there are concerns on the offensive line. Could we see a hurry up to mask that? And then as the system gets installed and players, get better players, could it shift to more what Drink has in mind?
I don't know. I do know when Drink was in Appalachian, though, he did run a hurry-up offense down there.
He did.
So it's not like he is like changing things. I mean, if anything, he's changing more into more of a hurry-up type offensive guy because we haven't been lately. We were more of a pound the ball type team. And last year when we tried to run it up the middle, we were only getting 2 or 3 yards at a time because the line wasn't opening up holes. I think if you go to a more hurry-up, spread them out a little bit, that'll open up more gaps and more running, especially for our top 3 running backs because we do have a really good set of running backs coming in.
I envision a split back formation with Roundtree on one side and Tyler Beatty on the other, and linebackers not knowing, on like a 3rd and 3, they don't know if they need to, crash down to go get Roundtree or be ready to go out into the flats to cover Beatty.
My dream would be, and again, because we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, put was it Sean Robertson out there?
Robinson, yeah.
Yeah, he's our speed quarterback. Throw him out there with the split back, run a speed option. He can go either way.
Shoot, you could run a speed option with Robinson and Roundtree, and then before he crosses the line of scrimmage, Tyler Beatty is running like a play action type thing and runs like a 5 and out.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff he could do. That's if you trust Robinson to throw the ball. And we haven't seen how much he can do, period.
Right.
I don't even know if Bozalak's going to be able to compete for a position yet. And I know Tyler Powell is in the mix too. Although I don't
Taylor Powell, we saw him in the Georgia game last year. I don't think he's capable of much more than that, which was basically nothing.
No, Bazelak. Sorry, I'm saying his name
wrong. Yeah, Bazelak is my guy. I think his ceiling is higher than Sean Robinson, so I'm rooting for him. Nothing against Robinson. I think he's capable, but I think Bazelak's ceiling is higher.
Yeah. It depends on if you're going with more experience or if you want to just go all out and give Bazelak a shot at it. And then you got to remember we got that East St. Louis guy coming in next year. So
that Tyler Macon will be he'll be enrolling early, which is just as well because Illinois high school football is not happening this fall.
Right. Now, on that note, I was also reading, how do you think it's going to work if we end up playing in the fall and they move fall championships to the spring?
It's such a mess.
Well, and
I mean, it is a mess. So it's going to be too hard to get too mad at anybody for whatever decision is made. But at the end of the day, it's the NCAA. So whatever the worst possibility you consider is, that's probably what the NCAA is going to do.
Now, I read somewhere, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I thought the Big Five conferences run the playoff championship, not the NCAA.
Right.
So if that's the case, they could still do the championships in the fall because only the Pac and Big Ten aren't playing. And
right. Well, that's the problem. What do? Do you have a playoff without someone like Ohio State playing football? Big Ten and Pac-12 would have absolute conniption fits, and the SEC and ACC and they'd lose their minds. Well, what are you talking about having our conference champions, Clemson and whoever wins the SEC, playing their conference championship game second week of December or whatever, and then you're going to have them sit for 3-4 months and then go do a playoff when all the seniors on those teams or just NFL guys, they'd skip the playoff because the NFL draft's about to happen.
Right. Personally, I think it's still going to happen in the fall, as long as the season goes forward with the SEC, because as the old story goes, SEC's where the money's at, and they're not going to let that go because they hold all the football power anyway, for the most part. And the ACC is following the SEC in that regard, and the Big 12 is, I guess, hopping on board. The Lord knows what they're doing.
Whatever Texas does. We're almost out of time. We got one last thing to talk about. The St. Louis City Soccer Club, their heinous team name, and their pretty decent crest. I understand that however many teams in MLS are whatever city. Premier League, Manchester City. But how stupid are you to look at St. Louis? You have to be cognizant of the divide that exists between St. Louis County and St. Louis City, and the fact that you have like St. Charles County. A lot of people in St. Charles, they'd say, "Oh, I'm from St. Charles." I'm like, "Oh, so you're in St. Louis?" And like, no. There's a little bit of an independent streak with St. Charles people, not all, but some. And that is the metropolitan area. You're gonna say we are St. Louis City. That's a brain dead decision right there. And then SSC, it's just boring. I understand that in international football, international soccer, most teams don't have a mascot. We're not in Europe. Who cares what Premier League or Bundesliga, who cares what they do? Anyway, that's my soapbox for the team name. I was holding out for the spirit of St. Louis. Corny as it is, it was too perfect in my opinion.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Spirit of St. Louis, but I mean, there are plenty of better names out there. The Archers, I know it's trademarked by Nelly, but I would have loved the St. Lunatics.
The mascot could have been someone dressed up as Nelly. Murphy Lee. Yeah. Hey, what you have is like at baseball games where they have the Brewers have the sausage race around the warning track. At halftime, you have those type mascot outfits, and you have different St. Lunatics running a lap around the soccer pitch.
That'd be fun. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you. My issue with the whole city part of the name, just call it St. Louis Soccer Club if you're going to do that. When you throw the city in there, like you said, you alienate the county, you alienate all the regional areas outside of the city, and most of the soccer comes outside of the city. I understand. I think everyone understands the point they were going for, but it doesn't work in a city that is as divided as St. Louis is by municipalities and all that. Well, and the funny part about it is they called it that to bring everybody together. And everyone's like, what are you doing?
Now, the crest, despite the terrible name, the crest isn't bad. As you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, or maybe you're talking.
It was before we started. Yeah.
Before we started recording, the pink you mentioned Yeah, it's not red. There's like a hint of pink in it. Go ahead and talk about what you noticed.
So, and I noticed this mainly because I was in the store the other day. The pink that they had chosen for the team, I actually really like the color. I don't know how other people feel about it, especially with the blue they put around it.
So we're going to have David talk about what he noticed with the pink tint in the soccer club's red. If you noticed an edit, it's because we realized we were talking for an hour and you don't want to watch us for an hour. So we split this up into 2 podcasts. Now, David, tell us your story.
All right, so I had an issue with my phone the other day, and in order to get it fixed, I had to go to T-Mobile. Originally, I had Sprint, but of course, the companies merged. It's a whole non-issue with this story. But what I noticed was with the colors that St. Louis SC chose, especially the reddish pink, if you will, I don't know, it's not a fuchsia, but some sort of pink. It's the same exact colors that T-Mobile use for their commercials, their outlining of the stores and all that. So what got me intrigued about that is I know while the owners of the club own like National Car Rental and Enterprise, most soccer teams, or I shouldn't say most, all soccer teams have a sponsor on their jersey. Well, I was thinking because of the colors we chose, especially with the pinkish red color of our most likely what our kit is going to be called, it'd be perfect for T-Mobile to put their sponsor on it. It's just a sidebar. I don't know if that would actually happen, but it just fits too perfectly not to do that instead of putting like Xbox or something else on there. But again, it all comes down to who the company if the company would want to sponsor the team. So I doubt it would go through like that. They might look at a local sponsor, but it was just a side thought based off the color, which, by the way, I really like. I do really like that pink color along with the blue that they chose for the colors of the team. As for the crest on a jersey, I personally think it's awesome looking. I don't know how you feel, Eric.
It's pretty good. Some people have taken the actual one and made their own renderings of similar things online. Seen some that have put a yellow outline around the crest itself. Seen some with either a gold or a silver fleur-de-lis in the background, playing off like the French heritage of St. Louis. So I saw one where the arch part of the crest was that stainless steel silver color. And some of them look better. Some people have brought up that, well, on the international stage, the fleur-de-lis going to look kind of weird because that's an American team, not a French team. I don't know. I don't think there's any, oh my gosh, this has to change aspects to the crest. It's definitely an awesome concept. The execution, I wouldn't say was perfect. It was pretty good.
I agree with you, and I know the arch is like the symbol of our city, and pretty much everyone knows St. Louis by the arch throughout the country. So, of course, I agree. You have to have that in the symbol. The other thought is, for those of you who may not know, the stadium is actually going up right next to the Union Station area where the aquarium and the new Ferris wheel they just put in is. So it would have been cool to do some kind of tribute to Union Station itself as well, just because of the location. But I understand why they put the arch in, because anything St. Louis, I think you have to have the arch in there just because it's so well known.
Instead of the St. Lunatics, you could have had the St. Louis Conductors. And the race around the pitch is people dragging like a plastic train behind them.
I didn't even think about that. Or just dressed up as like train engines. You know how you got like the sausage race at Milwaukee? Dress them up in different steam engines.
Nice.
But I do think my one concern about this whole soccer thing is I really think they are underestimating the love of soccer in our city. And what I mean by that is the stadium they are building only holds 22,000. And I really think they're selling the city short by that. And I get it's all privately funded and everything, so I understand why they're doing it. Plus, they want to make sure you have full crowds. But if you look at like Sporting KC on the Kansas side of the state, they sell out almost every game. With the popularity of the sport growing in the States, I think they really could have built a 30,000 seat stadium, and they might be better off as an organization if they would have done that, because now you're talking more money coming in, which you could spend on the team and players, get better players, and become more dominant. If you look at teams like these Seattle Sounders or Atlanta, they're playing in the football stadiums and they're drawing huge crowds, so they have much more capital to use.
Atlanta sold out the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, their new stadium there with the awesome roof. They sold that out for the finals. Was that 2019? I guess.
Yeah. Well, and that's
what 70 some odd thousand.
Well, and in Orlando plays in the was it the Peach Bowl or Orange Bowl down there?
Citrus Bowl.
Maybe it's
Orlando.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the Citrus Bowl. They play in that stadium, which holds like 60,000.
Yeah.
So, not saying that we're going to sell out every game or anything like that, and who knows, we might even not. So I get why they built a small stadium, but I think they're selling our city short, especially when it comes to sports. With such a small stadium, I think they would have been better off making it 30,000 or larger. I mean, because if you look at the national teams when they came in, we were selling at Busch Stadium for both men and women.
Well, and the fact that they've had games there, I wonder if the idea has been tossed around of, let's say, what are we even going to call the St. Louis soccer team? The city, the club, the St. Louis soccer team gets, what if a rivalry with Sporting KC becomes a thing, like I think they hope? You could play that game at Busch if the Cardinals are on a road trip.
Well, and another team that just got started in the MLS, which I think we're going to have a huge rivalry with, because we do another in hockey, is Nashville.
Yeah.
And as well as Chicago, because they're only like 5-hour road trips.
Exactly, yeah. Those three are going to be the big rivals, I'd imagine.
So I think those will kick up right away. But I do think with the huge population of the city playing and enjoying soccer, I think they may have undersold themselves when it came to the stadium. And again, it's all being privately funded, so I get them not wanting to spend way more money on something they might not even fill up.
And the trade-off for them is, if the thing is selling out and there is demand, they just charge more for tickets.
True.
It sucks to realize that as fans, but they may have that flexibility. Well, if there's 30,000 people trying to go to a game and there's 24,000 seats or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how many season tickets they sell too.
Right.
Because I know like the Blues have a waiting list now to get season tickets after their Stanley Cup win.
Well, it'll be interesting because MLS season is concurrent with baseball season.
Yeah.
So they're going to be competing directly with the Cardinals for season.
I don't think they'll be competing that much though, because there's only 16 or 17 games or something in the MLS season compared to baseball.
But what I'm talking about is you're going to have people who have like the 10-game packages or whatever for the Cardinals, and those families are going to have limited amounts of money to spend, and they're going to have to choose. Well, I'd love to go and get a season ticket package for soccer, but Cardinals.
True.
So it's more than competing like on a both teams have a game on the same day type scenario. It's going to be competing for dollars.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyway, that is all the time we've got, I think, unless you got something real quick to add.
Oh, no, we're good.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, we split this into 2 podcasts because we're a bunch of morons who just like to ramble for way too long. Anyway, make sure you find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the Arch Sports. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and right, it isn't official as of the taping of this podcast, but we're going to have just the audio in case you are sick of looking at our ugly faces and you just want to listen to us on the go. You'll be able to do that. Should be on Spotify and a whole bunch of other platforms we will disseminate as that becomes a thing. But keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Take care.